The Browns just made it official. General Manager Andrew Berry is pushing Shedeur Sanders ahead of Dillon Gabriel on the depth chart. Not QB3. Not wait and see. Not developmental. Nope. QB2, locked in. And with Kenny Pickett being shipped out of town in a stunning trade? The path is clearing for one name, one face, and one destiny, Shedeur Sanders as the Browns' quarterback of the future. Now let's just pause here for a second. Think about the context. A fifth-round pick. A rookie that half the media world wrote off before his cleats even touched an NFL sideline. A kid burdened with the weight of a legacy, Dion's son, primetime's heir, expected to fade into the background behind Joe Flacco's shadow and Gabriel's so-called NFL readiness. And yet here we are. Shedeur has forced the hand of the front office. Not just with hype. Not with politics. But with performance.
If you're into the real story and all the messy twists they don't show on highlight reels, go ahead and subscribe. And if you're sticking around to see how this Browns QB chaos plays out, you should definitely be subscribed.
Because make no mistake, this wasn't a PR stunt. This wasn't about jersey sales or Instagram followers. This was about football. And Andrew Berry, who, let's remember, has made some of the boldest moves in Browns history, just doubled down on his vision. Shedeur Sanders is the franchise plan. So how did we get here? How did Shedeur leapfrog Dillon Gabriel, a guy plenty of analysts were calling steady and pro-ready just a few weeks ago? It starts in training camp. Day after day, throw after throw, Shedeur showed something different. That consistency. That composure. The ability to make the same throw on rep 1 as he did on rep 50. You can't coach that. Meanwhile, Gabriel, talented, sharp, scrappy, showed flashes. But flashes aren't enough. Especially when you've got a glaring limitation staring scouts in the face. His height. At barely 6 feet, Gabriel was constantly fighting the same criticism we've heard for years. Can he see over NFL linemen? Can he deliver under pressure when 6 feet 5 inches monsters are crashing down around him? The league is ruthless with those questions. And the truth? Gabriel has a ceiling. Sanders doesn't. That's what Nick Wright pointed out. That's what Mike Tannenbaum highlighted. That's what TJ Houshmandzadeh flat out warned about. And the Browns? They listened. But Andrew Berry didn't stop at the depth chart. Oh no, this man went nuclear. He looked at that ragtag offensive line that nearly got Shedeur decapitated in the preseason and said, not good enough. Then he replaced the entire unit. Read that again. The entire offensive line. Do you know how wild that is? You don't overhaul 5 starters unless you're making a statement. And Berry's statement was loud and clear. If Shedeur's going to lead this team, he's going to have every tool, every wall of protection, and every opportunity to succeed. No excuses. That's not just support. That's belief. That's ownership putting its chips on the table and saying, this is our guy. We're all in. And you could feel it ripple through the organization. Players noticed. Coaches noticed. Fans definitely noticed. Because let's be real, how many times have the Browns drafted a quarterback, hyped him up, and then left him to rot behind a collapsing pocket? How many careers have been sabotaged by neglect? Not this time. Not with Shedeur. Now let's talk about Kevin Stefanski. Because you can practically hear the clock ticking in his office. The moment Shedeur was pushed ahead of Gabriel, the pressure on Stefanski tripled. TJ Houshmandzadeh wasn't exaggerating. If this kid is mishandled, if Stefanski plays it too safe or too stubborn, he's gone. Done. Out the door. What? Because Shedeur isn't just any rookie. He's a movement. The Browns didn't just draft him, they invested their future in him. And when you've got a GM rebuilding the trenches for one guy, when you've got analysts crowning him the natural choice, when you've got fans chanting his name before he's even taken a real NFL snap, you don't get to play politics. You don't get to wait and see. You either ride with him, or you get replaced. And Stefanski? He's not known for risk. He's methodical, careful, calculated. But here's the thing, Shedeur doesn't fit into careful. He's not a plug-and-play system guy. He's not here to dink and dunk. He's here to change the game. That means Stefanski has to evolve. Fast. And let's not sugarcoat this. Dillon Gabriel isn't a bad quarterback. Far from it. The kid's got moxie. He's got accuracy. He's got that college gunslinger vibe that fans love. But in the NFL, the margin for error is razor thin. And when you're undersized, every mistake gets magnified. Every tipped ball, every batted pass, every collapsed pocket becomes a referendum on your future. Gabriel will stick around, he's not disappearing. But the truth? He's a backup. A safety net. A clipboard guy. Shedeur? He's the future. Because you can't teach frame. You can't teach arm talent. You can't teach that uncanny ability to stay cool when 300-pound linemen are breathing down your neck. Shedeur has the tools. And now, with Barry's moves, he's got the support system too. But let's zoom out for a second. Because this isn't just about the Browns. This is about the league. The NFL runs on narratives. And the Shedeur Sanders narrative? It's not just one of talent, it's one of defiance. Remember the skepticism? The smirks from analysts when his name was called in the 5th round? The endless comparisons to, oh, he's just Prime's son, he's just hype, he's just nil money in cleats? All of that is fuel now. Every single doubt is kindling for what could become one of the greatest quarterback origin stories we've seen in years. Because if Shedeur goes from overlooked rookie to the face of the Browns franchise, that's not just a comeback story. That's a cultural reset. It says the NFL gatekeepers don't decide the narrative anymore. The players do. And make no mistake, the AFC North just got way more interesting. You've already got Lamar Jackson redefining quarterback play in Baltimore. Joe Burrow, calm and clinical, carving up defenses in Cincinnati. Pittsburgh, still searching but always dangerous under Mike Tomlin. Now add Shedeur Sanders to the mix. That's not just competition, that's chaos. That's fireworks. That's highlight reels waiting to happen. Imagine the Browns walking into M&T Bank Stadium with Shedeur under center, trading blows with Lamar in a fourth-quarter shootout. Imagine Sanders versus Burrow, two icy calm killers going throw for throw with the division on the line. That's the AFC North now. And Cleveland, for the first time in a long time, doesn't feel like an afterthought. But let's not get carried away, this isn't a fairy tale. Shedeur still has to prove it. Preseason flashes are one thing. Training camp stats are another. But Sundays in the fall? That's where legends are made, or broken. There will be mistakes. There will be ugly games. There will be interceptions that look like rookie blunders. But the difference now is this: Shedeur will get the reps to learn. Because Barry has cleared the path. Flacco is the stopgap. Gabriel is the clipboard. The job, the future, is Shedeur's to take. And if he's even half the player his flashes suggest, the Browns won't just be relevant. They'll be dangerous. So where does this leave us? With a Browns team that finally feels like it's leaning into the future instead of clinging to the past. With a fan base that has a new name to rally behind. With a general manager who just put his reputation, and maybe his job, on the line for a quarterback most of the league didn't believe in. And with Kevin Stefanski staring at the biggest test of his career, can he handle Shedeur Sanders? Because if he can't, someone else will. So let's wrap it up like this. The Browns aren't playing it safe anymore. They're betting big. Betting on talent. Betting on potential. Betting on a kid who's been doubted his entire career and keeps proving people wrong. Shedeur Sanders is QB2. Dillon Gabriel is QB3. Joe Flacco is the placeholder. And Andrew Barry? He just told the world exactly what this franchise is about to become. Not cautious. Not conservative. Not maybe next year. But bold. Unapologetic. And maybe, just maybe, ready to shock the NFL. So tell me this. Do you think Shedeur's really the future of the Browns, or is this just another Cleveland experiment waiting to crash? Which AFC North game are you circling as his first "I'm here" moment? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and hit subscribe, because if Shedeur Sanders really is the guy, this ride's about to get insane. What Andrew Barry just did wasn't a depth chart shuffle. It wasn't a for now decision. It was a power play. A declaration. A pivot that screams, we're done playing scared football. And if you're a Browns fan, you can feel the ground shaking under your feet right now. Because this moment is when the Cleveland Browns stopped looking like the old Cleveland Browns. Think about what we've lived through with this franchise. The graveyard of quarterbacks. The constant rebuilds. The maybe next year promises that turned into decades of heartbreak. From Tim Couch to Baker Mayfield to every poor soul in between, Cleveland has been the land where quarterbacks go to die. And now, Andrew Barry is saying loud and clear, not this time. Shedeur isn't here to be another name on a cursed jersey. He isn't here to be a placeholder until the real guy comes along. He's here to be the guy. The face. The leader. The one who rewrites everything you thought you knew about Browns football. And Barry isn't just saying it with words, he's proving it with actions. Replacing an entire offensive line for one quarterback? That's not normal. That's not cautious. That's not hedging bets. That's a GM staking his reputation on a player. That's a franchise saying, this kid matters so much, we'll tear down everything else and build it around him. And it sends a message not just to Shedeur but to the whole locker room. The Browns believe. Now let's talk about Dillon Gabriel. Because this isn't just a Shedeur love fest, it's also about who got left behind. Gabriel's no scrub. The guy's got talent. He's accurate, he's quick, he's smart. But this is the NFL, not a college spread offense where you can mask physical limitations. In this league, size matters. Vision matters. Durability matters. And Gabriel's shorter frame? It shows. Batted passes. Struggles to find lanes. A tendency to get swallowed up in the chaos when the pocket collapses. Meanwhile, Shedeur? Standing tall, surveying the field, shrugging off contact, keeping his eyes downfield. The difference is night and day. That's why Gabriel's ceiling feels capped. He can be solid. He can be serviceable. He can be a nice change of pace backup. But a franchise quarterback? The kind you build around for the next decade? The kind you invest an offensive line overhaul into? That's Shedeur. And the Browns know it. But let's not pretend this comes without risk. Because here's the thing about bold moves, they either make you look like a genius or a fool. And right now, Andrew Berry is gambling everything. If Shedeur succeeds, he's the GM who broke the curse. The man who brought Cleveland a quarterback they can finally believe in. A legend in the making. If Shedeur fails, if he flames out under the pressure, if the learning curve is too steep, if the hype doesn't translate to wins, then Berry goes down with him. That's the cost of belief. But you know what? For once, Cleveland fans are okay with it. Because playing safe has gotten them nowhere. Playing scared has only led to heartbreak. Playing wait and see has delivered season after season of mediocrity. It's about time someone in that building said, screw it. We're going all in. And let's not ignore the Kevin Stefanski angle. This man has been walking a tightrope since day one. Winning just enough to stay relevant but never enough to silence the doubters. Conservative play calling. A keep-it-steady approach. But with Shedeur climbing the ranks, that leash just got short. Because Stefanski isn't just coaching games anymore, he's coaching for his job. And here's the kicker. He doesn't control the narrative anymore. The fans do. The front office does. The buzz does. The moment Shedeur steps onto that field, the stadium will light up. Every touchdown will be treated like prophecy. Every first down will feel like a revolution. And Stefanski? He'll either ride that wave, or get drowned by it. Now let's zoom out to the bigger picture, the AFC North. This division has been a war zone for years. Lamar Jackson in Baltimore, MVP-caliber chaos. Joe Burrow in Cincinnati, icy, calculated, terrifyingly efficient. Pittsburgh, scrappy, stubborn, coached by the unshakable Mike Tomlin. The Browns? They've always been the little brother. The punching bag. The team you never take seriously when playoff time rolls around. But inject Shedeur Sanders into that mix? Suddenly the Browns aren't just participants. They're contenders. Because defenses can prepare for Flacco. They can prepare for Gabriel. But Shedeur? He's the unknown. The X factor. The guy with the cannon arm who can also burn you on a broken play. The rookie who's not afraid of the lights, the noise, or the critics. And that unpredictability is dangerous. Because say what you will about rookies, sometimes it's not about experience. Sometimes it's about energy. About momentum. About catching fire at the right time. And if Shedeur catches fire in the AFC North? Buckle up. Here's the part that really hits though, this isn't just about football. This is about identity. Cleveland has lived in shadows for decades. The shadow of bad drafts. The shadow of cursed seasons. The shadow of quarterbacks who never quite measured up. But with Shedeur there's a swagger. A confidence. A charisma. It's not just that he plays well, it's that he makes you believe. You can see it in the way his teammates talk about him. You can see it in the way analysts reluctantly start changing their tune. You can feel it in the way fans are buzzing online. For the first time in forever, Cleveland doesn't just hope. They expect. And that's the shift. That's the culture change. Because football isn't just about talent, it's about faith. And Shedeur has given this city a reason to believe again. Of course, we've got to address the elephant in the room. Pressure. It's one thing to shine in preseason. It's another to carve up training camp. But the NFL regular season? That's a different beast. And Shedeur's going to make mistakes. He's going to throw picks. He's going to misread defenses. He's going to get sacked by blitz packages he's never seen before. The key is how he responds. And if his track record is anything to go by, he'll respond the same way he always has, with calm poise and fire in his eyes. Because this isn't a kid who crumbles. This is a kid who thrives under pressure. So here's the bottom line. Andrew Berry didn't just push Shedeur ahead of Dillon Gabriel. He planted a flag. He drew a line in the sand. He said, The future is now. And Shedeur Sanders is our future. It's bold. It's risky. It's dramatic. But it's also the most exciting thing to happen to Cleveland football in years. And whether you're a believer or a skeptic, whether you're chanting Shedeur's name or bracing for disaster, one thing is undeniable. We're all going to be watching. Here's the reality. Andrew Berry didn't push Shedeur ahead of Dillon Gabriel because of politics. He didn't do it because of hype. He did it because the tape doesn't lie. Think about what we've seen over the last few months. Training camp after training camp, rep after rep, Shedeur was the guy who kept delivering. When the coaches wanted to test him with blitzes, he read them. When they threw in disguised coverages, he adapted. When the moment was chaotic, he stayed cool. Meanwhile, Gabriel had flashes. Good flashes even. But flashes aren't enough in this league. You can't build a franchise on maybe. And at his size, with his limitations, Gabriel always felt like he was fighting uphill. He's good, but he's not transformational. Shedeur? He's a storm waiting to break. Now here's the wild part. You know how hard it is for a rookie, especially a fifth-round rookie, to change the entire course of a franchise this fast? Normally these stories take years. Let him sit, they say. Let him learn. You ride the veteran until he breaks down, then you slowly phase in the rookie. But Shedeur didn't wait. He forced the issue. From the second he stepped into Berea, you could feel it. He carried himself like a leader. He talked like a veteran. And most importantly, he played like a quarterback who belongs. And Andrew Berry saw it. That's why the GM blew up the offensive line. That's why he traded Pickett. That's why he's drawing a new roadmap for the Browns, not one based on patchwork veterans and stopgaps, but one built on the future. Because here's the truth. When you find a quarterback with Shedeur's poise, tools, and energy, you don't wait. You build. But let's stop here and address what everyone's thinking: pressure. This is Cleveland. A city that's been scarred by quarterback heartbreak more than any other. Fans don't just want hope, they demand proof. They've had too many next big things turn into next big busts. And now here comes Shedeur, fresh out of college, being handed the keys to QB2, with QB1 not far behind. That's a mountain of expectations for a rookie to climb. But if you've followed Shedeur's story, you know pressure doesn't crush him. It fuels him. Remember, this is a kid who's been living under the brightest spotlight possible since high school. His dad isn't just a Hall of Famer, he's one of the loudest, most visible, most influential figures in sports. Shedeur's every move has been magnified, criticized, dissected, and debated before he ever took an NFL snap. And still he never blinked. That tells you everything. Now let's look at what this does for the locker room. Because here's the thing about quarterbacks. Teammates can smell the truth. They know who's a leader and who's a placeholder. They know who commands respect and who just fills the jersey. And with Shedeur, the players feel it. The way he runs the huddle. The way he talks to linemen after a busted block. The way he celebrates with receivers after a big catch. It's not fake. It's not forced. It's leadership. And when a rookie commands the huddle like a veteran, that's when the locker room shifts. That's when guys buy in. That's when a team stops being a collection of players and starts being an army. That's what Shedeur brings. And let's not forget the division we're talking about, the AFC North. The toughest neighborhood in football. Baltimore's got Lamar Jackson, a human highlight reel who can wreck you with his legs and arm. Cincinnati's got Joe Burrow, icy, clinical, built for playoff runs. Pittsburgh? Even when they're down, Mike Tomlin always has them punching above their weight. And now, the Browns are stepping into that arena saying, "We've got our guy too." You know how massive that is? For once, Cleveland isn't limping into the fight with a stopgap. They're walking in with a weapon. A quarterback who might not just compete, he might take over. Imagine the matchups. Shedeur versus Lamar. Sanders versus Burrow. Those games don't just decide standings, they decide legacies. And Cleveland finally has a seat at that table. Of course, all this puts Kevin Stefanski in the hottest of hot seats. Because here's the thing, when ownership and the GM back a quarterback like this, the coach doesn't get to drag his feet. He doesn't get to play it safe. He doesn't get to cling to his veterans like a security blanket. No, he has to adapt. He has to evolve. He has to trust Shedeur. And if he doesn't, if he plays politics, if he stunts Shedeur's growth or mismanages his opportunities, he's gone. End of story. Because at this point, Shedeur isn't just a quarterback. He's the Browns' identity. He's the Browns' investment. He's the Browns' future. And if Stefanski can't handle that, someone else will. Now, let's talk about what this means for Browns fans, because honestly, this is where it gets emotional. For decades, fans in Cleveland have had to settle. They've had to squint hard to find reasons for hope. They've had to cheer for, maybe this guy will work out. They've had to memorize names like Couch, Quinn, McCoy, Whedon, Mayfield, the endless parade of next big things that never were. But Shedeur? He feels different. Not just because of the talent. Not just because of the name. But because of the belief. The city believes. The front office believes. The players believe. And that's something you can't fake. It's that rare electric moment where a fan base starts to feel alive again. Where Sundays feel like destiny instead of doom. Where you don't just watch games, you feel like you're part of a movement. And Shedeur Sanders is the face of that movement. But let's be brutally honest here. This ride? It won't be smooth. There will be games where Shedeur struggles. Games where he throws bad interceptions. Games where critics circle like vultures and scream, "See? He's not ready." That's inevitable. But what matters isn't those mistakes. It's how he responds to them. And if his past tells us anything, he'll respond the same way he always has, by coming back stronger, smarter, sharper. Because Shedeur doesn't break. And when you're a Browns fan, that's all you can ask for. A quarterback who doesn't break. So here's where we stand. Kenny Pickett? Gone. Dillon Gabriel? Clipboard duty. Joe Flacco? A mentor, a placeholder, a bridge to the future. And Shedeur Sanders? He's next. Not next year. Not eventually. Not one day. No. Andrew Berry just bet the franchise on him. The fans are already chanting for him. The AFC North is on notice. And the NFL? They're about to learn that you can't keep a talent like this buried on a depth chart. Because Shedeur Sanders isn't just climbing the ladder. He's kicking it down and building a new one.